Dear viewer, good evening and welcome to Current Issue. With me tonight, somebody that served the community for so long, worked as an assistant prosecutor for so long, and now she is running for the 43 District Court. With us is Kelly Collin. Welcome, Kelly, to MEA.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Kelly, tell me about yourself. How you start, when you got involved with all the politics of serving the community.
Absolutely. Well, I've been an assistant prosecutor, like you mentioned, for the last 20 years.
20 years, wow.
20 years,
Yeah.
yes.
Which
At the Oakland County
Oakland
Prosecutor's
County,
Office,
yes.
under two different administrations.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to becoming an assistant prosecutor, I worked in the court system. I was both a judicial clerk and a secretary for a judge in the Oakland County Circuit Court, Judge David F. Breck.
Yes, good
And
person.
so I went to law school at night, worked my way through law school,
Yes.
and then when I graduated and passed the bar, became an assistant prosecutor. And I started right where I'm running for judge in the 43rd District Court.
Great.
Yes.
Yes. Tell me, 43 District Court.
Yes.
What city where?
That covers 3 cities. It covers Ferndale, Hazel Park, and Madison Heights. So the
Ferndale,
voters.
Hazel Park and Medicine Heights.
Yes.
And honestly, there is a good percentage of Middle Eastern community live in those 3 cities.
That's true. That's true.
Tell me, what's the difference between you and your opponent? Why are you running for the judge now? You've been a prosecutor for 20 years.
Right.
What comes now that you decide to run for a judge?
You know, when this opportunity arose with the retirement of the prior judge, he retired, Judge Gabbard, and that opened up the seat at the 43rd District Court. And this is something that I'm very passionate about. The district courts are the courts that are closest to our communities, geographically as well as the subject matter.
Yes.
More often than not, the one court that most of us would possibly find ourselves in is the district court. It handles traffic matters, small claims, landlord-tenant, those types of things, and they are the courts.
Traffic and all that.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's where all
Any criminal?
absolutely the majority of the
I
cases.
want to know about what do you handle? When you
Yes.
become a judge for 43,
Yes.
what kind of case is going to come in front of you?
The vast majority of cases on the docket of the district courts are criminal. That can range from misdemeanors all the way to felonies, and that's where it begins.
Okay.
So you asked what I bring to the table and what distinguishes me. This is something that I've been doing for the last 20 years. I've been in the courtroom. It really is my second home.
Yes.
And I'm knowledgeable about the law and the issues that would come before me. I am familiar with presenting evidence and analyzing cases and making determinations that lead to the ends of justice.
Yes.
So that's what I
very
primarily
important.
bring.
Somebody with the experience you have for 20 years.
Absolutely. I think experience is key. We can't afford to learn on the job in this particular position.
Yes.
And I think it's so important. I also think that the depth of my experience also lends itself to a very advantageous person on the bench in me.
Yes.
And what I mean to say is, I know what a low-level, nonviolent offense looks like, and I know what evil looks like because I've handled the gamut of those types of cases. And I think that there are distinctions between them, and there's different ways to treat them in the court.
Yes.
I'm by nature a problem solver, and so I like to also be innovative with my approach and my ability to make a first-time offender a last-time offender. I don't want them to get to the most violent and the most heinous type of cases.
It gets big.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Kelly, that the 3 cities you are in, there's a lot of ethnic minorities.
Yes.
There is the Latino, there is the Indian, there is the Chaldean, there is the Lebanese, the Middle Eastern, and all that. I know you are involved with the Middle Eastern community. You attend that event. I see you at an event, whatever, and we cover a lot of events. Especially, because of COVID, we cover little, but
Right.
we used to cover every day 1 or 2 events.
COVID certainly has changed things for us, hasn't it?
So you have some understanding to the Middle Eastern community, many people, but do you have the knowledge of the other ethnic minority? And I'm saying that because each community have their own culture,
Certainly.
the way they live, the way they act, the issue they have.
Right.
So do you have understanding of the Middle Eastern and other ethnic minorities in those three cities?
Right. I think I do. And one thing that I pride myself on, I've been a 20-year resident of Ferndale, and in those three communities, we have a hugely diverse community.
Yes.
And I think that that's important. One of the things that I pride myself in is not only familiarizing myself and being a friend to all, but also learning, a constant learning. And I think that that is important, just as important as being familiar and being aware currently, to never think that you have all the answers, never think that you know it all. And one of the things that I've talked about throughout my campaign is creating this council for an advisory council for excellence within the court.
Yes.
And I've already started speaking with community members. One of the main things that I would like to bring to the table is a diverse group of people that have us that are stakeholders in our communities, so that we can familiarize ourselves with what issues come before us, what issues need to be addressed, and how we might address those from the courts. We each have our role.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important to bring people together and like I said, problem solve and be innovative in that problem solving manner.
Through 20 years experience, I'm pretty sure that every member of all the ethnic minority came in front of you. You understand the way they act, the culture. Different culture, different. The Indian, they're different than the Chaldean. The Chaldean are different
Right.
than Armenian.
Right.
And with your experience 20 years, that's so important that you understand them.
Yes.
You understand the culture. It's probably something very minor, but to you, it's important.
It's
But if you
huge.
understand the culture, you will see
Right.
it as an easy thing to do.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. So tell me about the cases that you handle. The cases you handle. We are in a very different situation. We live in a very disparate situation. The COVID create more stress, mental health problem, more people drinking, more people getting, even health, that affect their health.
Yes.
We're talking about the stress and the problem and the issue. As a judge, and that's going to continue for a while.
I agree.
As judge, how are you going to handle those issues? Which is before, the husband and wife, they were perfect. With the children, they were perfect. But if you keep them in the house for 3-4 months,
Right.
definitely it's going to be a problem.
And it's interesting that you bring that up. There has been such a rise and such a concern. I think I mentioned before, I come by way of handling special victims cases, vulnerable victims. And so a lot of my years at the prosecutor's office has been spent handling cases where victims have been domestic partners, children of crimes, the elderly, people who've been human trafficked, things of that nature. And these are the most vulnerable in our communities. During this COVID pandemic, we have seen an uptick, a vast rise on the domestic violence crimes that are committed. And you're right, it's the seclusion, it's the effect that it has on our mental health, it's the effect that it has on us individually and as family members. As a judge, I think it's important to address each case and each individual that comes before you.
Why that happened?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can't, it's not a one size fits all. It's not just a vast grouping and I treat every person the same in that manner. I think it's so important to figure out and assess and utilize the resources that we have within the courts and within the community to make those assessments, to refer them to probation, to refer them to outside sources to get to the root of the problem so that then we can craft solutions and work toward that end. So, like I said, to make that first-time offender a last-time offender.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As a judge, and as we mentioned, the culture in that is very important.
Right.
What's the difference between you and your opponent? You mentioned the committee. What else that the community that look at you as a judge who understand them, who are trying to solve their problem, before it becomes bigger problem.
Right.
So what's the difference between? Why should I vote for you?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Again, I go back to my experience. This is not unfamiliar territory for me in the courtroom. And Candidly, my opponent doesn't have the same level of experience in the courtroom in dealing with the legal community and the legal cases
Yes.
that come before a district court judge. I think I have that level of experience and all of the factors that come with that, the resources, the knowledge about what programs are out there. I enjoyed and I feel very proud of the endorsements that I've received from the legal community. That includes judges, that includes defense counsels and prosecutors alike, other attorneys that I've
Right.
worked with and against.
Yes.
I think that that's really important, and it speaks volumes about what I can bring to the table and my level of fairness, the attention that I pay to each and every individual case, the preparation that I put into my cases. All of that goes into why I'm the better candidate for this position, and why I think that I would serve the people of our three communities in a stellar fashion.
You will have more understanding about different issues they have.
Yes,
Because
I believe so, because of my
Look,
experience. Right,
20 years.
right. Because of my experience. You know,
Yes.
I'm also a mother. You know, I have 2 children. I've been in this community. I've worked with the youth in our communities,
Yes.
and with my children and through their activities and through. I want to bring our youth into the courts in a
That'd be
positive
great.
way.
That'd be great. You
In
know.
a positive way.
Yes.
I want them to learn about our system. I want them to learn about professions that, you know, but I also want them to learn about consequences and how choices can dictate the paths that we're on and how we can stop, you know, a cycle if we're on one. And I think education is so important. So to bring the youth of our community into the courthouse and allow them to see it firsthand, to learn about it and to know it, I think would be a fantastic thing and something that I would strive to also bring to the 43rds, you know.
Great. Those group, are they going to reflect the community? Are they going to be part of each ethnic minority? Because it's important to bring those different cultures so they can understand each other.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. You're talking about the council that I
Yes,
envisioned, yes.
yeah.
And I've already started talking to community members, but yes, one of the things is diverse in their backgrounds, in their cultures, in
Yes.
their races, in their genders, and what they're stakeholders, truly. And as I mentioned, our cities are very diverse, and I anticipate that group of people, it would be professionals in the community, it would be community members, and yes, a diverse group of those stakeholders to make sure that we're addressing all the concerns.
Yes.
and kind of do a top to bottom analysis, and then hit the ground running. Start, you know, by making improvements where we can, changes if there need to be, and really address these types of issues in curing any issues that come before us.
And being, you know, multicultures, working together, understand each other culture, is so important. Because they might take it to their friends and family, and that's more understanding.
Right.
And believe me, a lot of problem we have is the lack of understanding
Yes.
the culture of different people.
Commun-
They'll act in front of us, what is it? But if we understand their culture, you know, yeah.
I think you're right. Communication in every aspect is so crucial. It's key in most things we do in our lives. Communication. I can't stress it enough. And I think that that's when you bring people together, when you really communicate, and when you talk about that, it's a learning process, and you can do great things when we come together.
I see.
Yeah.
Your message to the community, are they involved with you? Are they volunteer? That they did some fundraising? I know in Oakland County, a prosecutor, there is a few Chaldean ladies there. So tell me your relation with them in the campaign.
Yes. You know, this has truly been a grassroots effort. And so it has been vital during this campaign with regard to COVID and the challenges with fundraising.
Yes.
I have had such the good fortune, community members, whether they're chipping in $10, $20, attorneys, and members of the communities in that way, the legal and the communities at large, chipping in to assist in our plight because they believe in me and they believe in what we're trying to do.
Great.
So yes, I've had a very diverse group of people and individuals that have stepped up, if you will. And that's in the midst of not being able to have in-person fundraisers. These are people that are just digging into their pockets and wanting to support me and my
Because they believe
campaign.
in you.
And that's what
Honestly,
I
if
feel.
not, they wouldn't do that.
And that's
Yes.
exactly how I feel, and I'm just so grateful, and I feel so fortunate. And I don't have a political background. I haven't been involved in politics.
And the church is not
It's nonpartisan.
nonpartisan.
Nope, it's nonpartisan.
Yes.
So that's another thing. It hasn't been political for me. I realize it's a political race, a nonpartisan race, but for me, it's about the community. It's about serving the people who live in our communities and who are affected by everything that comes through those district courts.
Absolutely. To me, honestly, the local election, yes, we deal with Washington. We have offices in Washington, D.C. But to me, the local election more important than what comes from Washington.
Absolutely.
It's going to affect me, my family, my children, the road, the hospital, the school,
Right.
affect everything. So I pay more attention to the local than, yes, the federal, but local is more important.
I will say this, and I think you're absolutely right. We get more, we get saturated with everything on the national level, right?
Yes.
But the local level races are the ones that are in our own backyards. They will affect us on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
They will affect our families. And I have been so impressed at the investment that the voters in Ferndale, Hazel Park, and Madison Heights have made in their local races. We've got really engaged voters, and when I've had the opportunity to speak with them as I go and I deliver literature and I meet them, again, in this COVID day and age, it's been a little bit different, but when I have that opportunity, I'm so proud of those cities and the people who live in them because they really are engaged and they realize the importance of these local races.
Well, great. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you so
I
much.
wish you the best. I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
And I think you will be elected
Thank you
because
so
of your
much.
experience, your involvement with the community.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me this opportunity tonight.
Pleasure. Thank
Thanks.
you. Dear viewer, that was my interview with Kelly Collin, running for 43 District Court. We have to look at the people who's running for office. And we have to choose a person who understands our culture, who comes to our event, to understand more issue so they could deal with. A person, especially in a judge case, that will go to her and for 20 years experience as a prosecutor, she will understand his culture. She will understand sometimes there is a small problem and she will understand it because her involvement with the community give her that. And she's not involving just with the Middle Eastern, she's involving with many ethnic minority, and those are three cities, Ferndale, Hazel Park, and Madison Heights. But, they have a lot of ethnic minority beside the Middle Eastern community. So please, when you go vote, vote and vote and vote, and it's very important to go and vote, but very important to go to the local. To me, local election is more important. You go down and you see the judges, you see the prosecutor, you see the mayor, you see the city council, and when you come to the 43 District Court, remember Kelly Collin. She's one of the person that knows the community well, how they live, how their culture, what's their problem, and when we go in front of her, definitely that will help 100%. So please, be careful. When you vote, don't go vote all Republican or Democrat. No, go vote whatever you want, okay? And then come to the bottom. And again, Kelly Collin, 43 District Court. She is the one who understands our issue. She is the one who understands if we have any problem and why that a problem is. So please go and vote for Kelly Collin. Thanks for watching and good night.